Well, last week was a fun time here on the Inter Miami Weekly Show as we took a look at the first half of the season, some of the best moments that were. But we have a game to talk about and more games to talk about coming up on this week's edition of the Inter Miami Weekly Show. Hi, welcome back here at Chase Stadium with Kieran Gibbs. I am Joe Malfa. Did you enjoy the little time off you had?
No, I didn't actually, to be honest. We're in the flow with the games at the moment. The boys are doing well, top of the league. I like the momentum.
We were a little bit worried, actually, if that would disrupt things, right? Going away from all the momentum we had, having that little bit of a break. But the answer was no. Come out and get the win against Philly. But it was the most interesting 2-1 win I think you'll ever see. And we'll get to the highlights in just a moment. But just overall takeaways from what was one of the wildest games of the year.
I definitely think it was the wildest game. I mean, there have been some pretty wild ones, but for sure that one was action-filled, dramatic. It had everything. But you have to give the boys credit. They went and picked up 3 points, and I think that Tata Martino's face at the end pretty much summed it up, really. And in his comments as well, 9 times out of 10 they don't go and win that game. So it was an unbelievable effort, and we shouldn't underestimate how difficult that is to go and pick up 3 points down to 9 men, backs against the wall, but they've managed to pull it out.
You mentioned 9 times out of 10 Tata says you probably don't win that game against Philly, and we'll show you why now as we get into the highlights here. It was probably, again, to your point, the wildest game of the year. Early goal for Philadelphia. That's, again, a theme that has popped up a few times for Inter Miami. Going down early, it shows up again here.
Yeah, and listen, we're an expansive team. So, we have fullbacks that like to play high and wide. We have midfielders that like to push on and join the attack. And sometimes it can leave us vulnerable. And that's what happened for the first goal.
It was Mikel Uwa who got that goal early on for Philadelphia. And, again, it's time and time again this year where the team has fallen behind but been able to come back and find out the victory in the end. The actual number on that, again, spoiler alert, win this game 2-1. It's 13 times now that Inter Miami has trailed. 7 of those 13, they've actually come back to win, this being the 7th, because in the 47th minute, Julian Gressel gets his goal.
Yeah, and a great bit of work from Kramashi and Jordi Alba on the left. He does just enough to get a touch on it, and it's a great strike from Gressel, who gets his first goal in an Inter Miami shirt.
You and I talked last week about the unsung heroes of this team, and that was the one we gave it to. He was plenty of sung last week to have a goal like that in a big moment like that. So Gressel makes it 1-1, but then it got dicey because David Ruiz picks up a yellow and then a second yellow. And a little bit later, Tomas Avilés picks up a yellow and then a second yellow. And that's part of why it was one of the wildest games of the season. This is the other reason why, because after all of that, down to 9 men, this happens.
Wow. I mean, completely against the run of play. What a moment for Afonso as well, by the way. I thought that when they came on, they showed some good energy, and I was really impressed with the way that they managed to see the rest of the game out. But he shows great pace and power to get past his man and take responsibility and win it for his team.
Go down 1-0, 3 minutes in. Go down to 9 men in the second half at 1-1. Still find a way to win the game on the road against Philadelphia, a team who's always in playoff contention in the MLS. Again, wow. Wow is the only thing you could say after a performance like that. They get through it. Again, as you mentioned earlier, not the prettiest at times, but a win is a win. And you and I have been talking about this probably too much the last month or so. How many points can you pick up in the moments where the likes of Messi and Suarez and now Matias Rojas are gone on international duty? That's at the end of the year in what could be a very tight race for first place, for the supporter shield, for home field in the playoffs. These are the moments where you say, those are 2 points you probably shouldn't have had, but you got them, you earned them, and they really pay off down the road.
Yeah, and now they have to regroup. They have to regroup and learn from their mistakes. Obviously we're going to miss Avilés, David Ruiz, which will be a big miss because we're already missing a lot of players. So it's going to be, the next game is, we're going to have to patch ourselves up and get through it. But like I said, they have the momentum at the moment, and that's going to be the most important things when you get to this stage of the season. The performances, of course, we know that they can do better, but if they keep their belief, then they'll be fine.
We've talked a lot this year about a player like Yannick Bright. Remember earlier in the year, there were a couple of times, especially during the run in Champions Cup, where he had to step up, he had to start a game, he had to look good, and he did when he was called upon. But you also throw in Leo Afonso, both draft picks this year. The unique stat about the goal that they combined for there to win it 2-1, around all of MLS to this point, at the halfway point now in 2024. They are the first 2024 draft class tandem to combine for a goal. That's with Bright on the assist and with Alfonso on the goal. So across the whole league, all the other rookies that are playing for the other 28 teams, this is the first rookie-to-rookie connection on a goal. So for all we talk about with this team, with the stars that this team has, and with the other MLS veterans that this team has, it's those rookies that kind of fly under the radar and get the job done on a night like that.
Well, they had a great impact on the night, and you saw Tata Martino really rely on the depths of his squad in order to get that result, and it was a great substitution. Obviously, I think it was Christoph who was out on the side of the pitch as well, and it looked chaotic at the time, but they've managed to compose themselves as a team. I thought Yannick Bright did brilliant to keep the ball in play because he could have easily just knocked that out or down to 9 men and just wanting to defend, but they've gone for the win and it's come off. So it was a remarkable end to the game.
We talk a lot about the players and, of course, what Tata is able to do, but I think on a night like that, that's where Chris Henderson really shines through with all he's done for this team and just his intimate knowledge of the draft process and all the other different processes that come with MLS roster building. You look around the pitch, an acquisition like Gressel comes up with a goal. A draft pick like Alfonso comes up with a goal. And just throughout the roster, it's his knowledge of team building and all the success he used to have in Seattle and what he's brought here. Chris Henderson, maybe someone we haven't talked enough about on this show, gets his shine on a night like that in Philly and will continue to during this run where some of the big guns are missing.
Well, I mean, he's responsible for the recruitment, and for me, it's one of the most important positions of a football club. We've seen many players come and go, especially in this team, and we're starting to see the rewards from when you get things right. It can also work the other way when things don't go your way, but at the moment, we're seeing these small details that people like Chris Henderson have put into the team, and it's paying dividends at the moment.
And we're seeing, of course, the guys missing right now for Copa America beginning this week. Messi with Argentina, Suarez with Uruguay, and now you've got Matias Rojas as well with Paraguay. We saw Benja Kramaski playing with the Olympic team in a friendly for the United States in the past week. David Ruiz was away at the beginning of June here with Honduras. I mentioned Kramaski with the Olympic team. He's not the only Olympic hopeful right now on the roster for Inter Miami. Izzy Boatwright is on his way to the Olympics with Dominican Republic, and we caught up with Izzy this past week. Izzy, you've been part of this group now where we've seen a lot of players come through, whether it's Benja Kramaski, David Ruiz, yourself. It's a very talented group. What can you say just about the player development process and what is in the water here at Inter Miami, right? Like you look around the league and sure, teams have players coming through, but it seems like in such a short time, there's been so many here. What about this player development process makes it so special?
Yeah, the player development process in the club, within the club, from all the way from the academy to the first team has been great with the coaches. Everybody wants to develop you. Everyone's pushing for you. There's a lot of competition. And I feel like, players and coaches just push me to keep doing better.
You've had this ascent right now, both for club and for country with Dominican Republic. And I'll get to that aspect in a minute here. But at the club, in your position as a fullback, you've gotten to watch DeAndre Yedlin. You've gotten to watch Jordi Alba. As you watch them, what have you pulled the most that you can sort of integrate into your game?
So, especially with Jordi Alba and DeAndre Yedlin, them playing at the highest level, you just try to really mock their games in every single way. They're just the little things in practice and game days, their game day routines, so they can perform at the highest level. You just really try to mock and mimic what they do.
And I mentioned you got the national team aspect, right? You go back to summer of 2022. That's when you guys had the run to the final in the CONCACAF U20 Championship. I see the smile on the face already. That's a special time for you. You make that run to the final. In doing so, you qualify for the World Cup this past year, the U20 World Cup. You qualify for this year's Paris Olympics. You played every minute at the World Cup last year. You're on your way to Paris. How special has that been to you to represent your country?
That definitely means the world to me, especially putting a small country like Dominican Republic on the map with going to the Olympics and in the World Cup playing on the biggest stage. It just means the world to me to qualify for the first time ever.
So you got that run. Of course, I saw that smile on your face again when we're talking about it with that run in the final in the U20s. Do you have a memory that sticks out for you so far with the Dominican youth national team that really is the top one?
So my favorite memory was the game versus Jamaica in CONCACAF. We were in Honduras, and I got the game-winning assist off a throw-in, and I was able to play against my best friend on Jamaica, which was Kobe Thomas, and beating him was to go to the World Cup was a big moment for me.
Awesome. Appreciate it. We're going to enjoy watching it. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. It was great to hear from Izzy Boatwright. A couple other players that we caught up with as well, just getting to know them. You'll see those interviews in the coming weeks. But Boatwright, again, could be on his way to the Olympics, was part of that team 2 summers ago now with Dominican Republic that went on that surprise run in the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship with Eddie Ascon, another Inter Miami club member at the time. So you've got that now where you have a lot of young players, Kieran, who are just continuing to show up for their club, for their country, and it's been something that's good to see. You've been there yourself as a youth international. You know how special those moments are.
Definitely, and sometimes these tournaments, stars are born, so it's really exciting for them to have an opportunity to put themselves on a world stage and try and perform and get themselves in front of the eyes of the world. I'm really excited for them.
A big announcement this week from the club as far as co-presidents go. Kieran, to have names like that in the fold. And obviously we knew Asensi, he'd been here for a couple of years, but to pair that now with a guy like Sanyehu, who has that experience with the Barcelona, with Arsenal, with Zaragoza, at different levels, top division of England, top division of Spain, second division of Spain, battling for promotion, all that experience he brings, how important is it to have now in a league like this, that type of leadership in place?
I mean, it's so important. I think these roles of the club, a bit like when we were mentioning Chris Henderson, these roles are really important for any football club. And I think the main thing that it brings is stability. When you have these types of guys that have been all around the world in different leagues and have all of this experience, to bring that together and put it into a club like Inter Miami, especially with all of the changes that are going on now. I'm hearing that Xavi was a big part of the Messi deal, and so it's really exciting. It's really exciting, but the main thing is the stability. We hear about when technical directors and these types of people leave clubs, how much it can destabilize clubs. So this is a really exciting announcement for the club, and hopefully, they can get things right and keep the club progressing.
Raul Sanyehi had a great moment in his press conference this week where he talked about his experience at Arsenal, Barcelona, and Zaragoza, and how that'll help now at Inter Miami.
These 3 clubs have worked with the same model of organization, which is based basically on teamwork, on specialization. I want everybody to be specialists in their area and complement each other to make the team stronger. I always use the example of the Seven Magnificent movie. I like it very much. It's actually originally the Seven Samurai, which is also a great movie. But it's about different individuals that are very good at something, but when they are together, they are invincible. And that's how I base the structure of a football club. I think everybody needs to be specialized in their area, and then I'm going to try to help to coordinate that to make it flow properly. But that's the strategy that I've been doing in the past, and I hope to implement here also.
I mean, how can you not love it with the movie analogy? But you, I know you were already sold at the moment that I said Arsenal. As soon as I said Arsenal, you were sold on board with the move to bring him in.
I mean, I haven't seen the movie, to be honest, but I'm probably going to watch it now because I find that quite interesting. But yeah, I mean, listen, top clubs that he's worked at, he brings huge amount of pedigree and experience. He's been around the block. This isn't his first rodeo, so I'm excited to see what he does with the club.
Plenty of good times ahead for Inter Miami, and we've got a little bit of time to wait now. After we had that break, we get the couple of games in against Philly and Columbus, and next up is all the way on June 29th on the road against Nashville. Yes, Nashville. I know it feels like we played them 100 times already this year, but on the road against Nashville. We thank you for joining us once again here inside the club room on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV.